Well, good afternoon, class. Welcome to our first video lesson of Chapter 11 as we move forward here. Chapter 11 is about compound interest, and I know we talked about compound interest before. We had talked about simple interest in Chapter 10, and in Chapter 10 we knew that simple interest was basically just the formula I equals PRT, and we knew that where the interest earned is on the principal only. All right, so we needed to know the principal, we needed to know the rate, and the rate was always annually per year, and the time period always had to be in years. So if we had days, remember we had to know, are we counting 360 or 365? In months, we would have to list it. If we were calculating it on 6 months, it would be 6 over 12. We always converted whatever the time period was into years because the rate and the time have to be within the same time period. So that was simple interest, all right? Simple interest. And again, no matter how long the time period was, we were only ever calculating the interest on the principal only. Now, we did touch base on compound interest when we introduced the idea of simple interest. And compound interest is basically the idea of whenever you calculate the interest, whatever time period you're calculating it in, you are calculating on the principal and any previous interest that was earned. Excuse me. So, if the time period is calculated so that your interest is calculated annually, and your interest would be calculated after 1 year, and so you put your money in for 3 years with your interest formula. After 1 year, you would earn so much interest. Now that gets added to the principal. And then the next year, you would have that principal and interest. They would calculate the interest on that new principal amount. And then the following third year, they would calculate on the new principal amount with all the interest earned previously plus the principal. So you can see that through the chart here, they kind of give you a picture that in the simple interest, you're going to earn the same. If the principal does not change, you're going to earn the same amount of interest each year. Okay? So in this formula, they're saying, for example, the chart below shows the growth of $1,000 invested in an account paying 10% annual simple interest. All right? So if you have $1,000, 10% would be $100. After 5 years, you would just earn $500 because you would earn $100 per year times 5. After 10 years times 100 would be 1,000, so you would double. So you're only ever earning interest on the principal. Okay? But now as we look at our compound interest, you see that after 1 year, we're going to earn our $100 because it's 10% a year. But now, when they go to 5 years, if they would have put 2 years in here, and we're going to calculate that out here in a little bit, but when they put in 2 years, you would see that they would not only earn interest on the $1,000, but they would earn interest on that $100. So not only would they earn $100 on the 1,000, but they'd earn another $10 on the 100, so they'd earn $110 the second year. So your interest, your principal keeps growing. And so now instead of this straight line that you would get in simple interest, you get this nice curved line that goes up. And as we move on, and by the way, we are on page 342 if you have your books. And if not, please understand that I'm going to be working through the books. I'll post pictures of the pages. And of course, I'm going to have video of the pages as well. But as we move to page 343, you'll see here how it's explained in a curve. And so they're talking about the different values of money. So here we have the present value, and that's what we know now, that's our principal right now, versus the future value. And so you're going to learn formulas here in the next couple of sections. How do I calculate what my present value is if I know the interest and the value I want at the end? How much money do I need to start with? Versus, and I think I said that backwards, if you know what your present value is and you know the interest and how long it's going to be, you can calculate the future value. All right? As well as, if you don't know, let's say you need to figure out how much do I need to put away now if I want a future value, and the compound interest is a rate in time. So you could figure that out and kind of reverse it to say how much do I need to start with if I want $10,000 in 5 years and the interest rate is 7% compounded annually. I could figure out how much I need in my present value. So we're going to walk through this idea of what compound interest is. I'm introducing the idea of present value and future value. So as we talk about compounding, our present value is what it is now, but because we need to continually change each compounding period, and that's when the interest is calculated, when we have to change the principal every compounding period, we can't keep calling it the principal. The principal is what we start out with. So what is the present value at each time period is what we're going to be able to calculate and figure out. So we'll start with our present value. Let's say it's $10,000, compounded for 10 years at 10%. We're going to have a future value. And at $10,000 at 10%, that first year, if it's compounded annually, we'd earn $1,000. But we're going to earn more each year because the next year would be $11,000 that we'd earn interest on. And then the year after that, it would be $11,100. And then the year after that, and it would keep going and going and going. Actually, $12,100. And would keep going. All right, so you can go ahead and if you do have your books, you can go to the next section. But I'm going to start a new video here and let you look at how to manually calculate out the compound amount, the future value, and what the interest is.